Generation 7. This is a fictional story, but the facts behind it aren't. In a quiet lab under fluorescent lights, Dr. Elena Morozova watched the latest generation of mice run the maze. They were fast, brilliant, and terrified. Each mouse wore a tag on its tail: G7A4, G7B2, G7C1. Generation 7, the most intelligent line ever bred. They solved the maze in under 2 minutes. They remembered every twist, every dead end. They pushed tiny levers, opened food boxes, even avoided traps. It looked like evolution's triumph. But Elena wasn't smiling. One mouse, G7C1, sat motionless after finishing. It trembled. Its fur was patchy. It had chewed its back foot until it bled. Elena made a note. High performance. Signs of compulsive behavior. Possible stress-induced self-harm. She sighed. We made them smart, she whispered. But we made them suffer. 3 years ago, the lab began selecting the fastest learners for breeding. Each generation surpassed the last, but the cost was rising. Generation 4 showed anxiety. Generation 5 stopped grooming. Generation 6 panicked under sudden light. And now, Generation 7. They were geniuses, but broken. Elena entered the observation room. Dr. Petrov, the project lead, sipped coffee. They're showing hippocampal neuron damage, she said. Cortisol levels are off the charts. Petrov didn't look up. They solve the maze, don't they? Yes, Elena said. But at what price? He shrugged. Cognition demands sacrifice. You can't boost brain power without instability. We're not breeding pets, Elena. We're breeding models. Models. That's what he called them. That evening, Elena sat alone, watching video logs. G7B2 spun in circles in an empty cage. G7A4 bit the bars for hours. Not for food, not to escape, just repeating. She paused on G7C1. Its eyes looked almost human. She opened the data logs. 7 generations of selective breeding, rising IQ, sharper memory, and rising. Grooming disorders, fragmented sleep, social withdrawal, neural microtears, reduced lifespan. A pattern, a warning. In her private journal, she wrote, "We are teaching the brain to run faster, while its legs are breaking beneath it. Intelligence without balance is a fragile weapon." The next morning, a new intern arrived. Jonas, 22. Fresh from university, curious, eager, full of ideas. His lab coat hung loosely, his notebook brimmed with maze redesigns. "They said I'll be working on Generation 8, he said. Elena offered a faint smile. "We're not there yet." She led him through quiet corridors, rows of cages, tiny lives behind glass. "These are G7, she said. Jonas leaned closer. "They look nervous." "They are, the smartest we've bred, but they shake, bite themselves, some forget how to sleep." He frowned. "But they learn faster?" "Yes," Elena nodded, "and suffer more." Later, they ran a test. Maze 14B. Low light, variable path, mild electric cue. G7D3 set a record, 1 minute, 12 seconds. Then collapsed in the corner, twitching. Jonas reached for the tablet. "Do I log this as success?" Elena stared at the screen. G7D3 curled into itself, unblinking. She took the tablet. "No," she said. "Right, unstable." That night, she returned to her office. The whiteboards were full. Green lines for memory, red for stress. The red always climbed faster. She studied a graph marked G8, projected neural cost. It now had a warning label. She opened old files. Footage from Generation 1. Chubby, slow brown mice. Clumsy, calm, social. They didn't win medals, but they didn't chew off their tails. Then email from Petrov, subject, G8 breeding approval. Her finger hovered over reply. The next morning, Jonas found her in the break room, staring into her cold tea. "I saw G7C1 last night," he said. "She just sat there, for hours, didn't move." Elena looked up. She was our brightest. "I don't think she wants to be here," Jonas whispered. "She was never asked," Elena said. That evening, she stood before C1's cage. Age, 4.5 months. Maze score, 99%. Behavior, pacing, self-biting, response delays under stress. C1 lifted her head, didn't move. Elena opened the lid, dropped in a sunflower seed. C1 sniffed it, then backed away. Back at her desk, Elena reopened Petrov's email. G8 was approved. She typed, "We need to stop. The model is flawed. They learn too fast, but break too soon." She hovered over send, then paused. What happens to truth no one wants to hear? It was Sunday. The lab stood silent. Elena walked the rows of cages. She stopped at C1. The sunflower seed was gone. Not eaten, but buried. As if saved, or hidden, or protected. "Smart girl," she whispered. Back in her office, the draft email sat untouched. She had rewritten it 5 times, each version shorter, each one more afraid. She opens the cage logs. From Generation 1 to 7, performance increased. Stability declined. Weight decreased. Fear increased. Lifespan shortened. 7 generations of acceleration. 7 steps toward collapse. She opened her personal folder. Photos of the first lab team, smiling, holding brown mice, and one handwritten sign from her first week: "Do no harm. Lab rule number 1. That night, she stayed. At 2:14 a.m., she entered the server room, copied all data to a private drive, all notes, all warnings, then deleted her name from G8 forms. At 3:03 a.m., she opened the cages. C1, B2, D3, E5. She opened them all. The mice didn't run. They froze, watched her, waited. Then, one by one, they climbed out. Some wandered, some stood still, some touched noses. Not chaos, not escape, just breathing, together. At sunrise, Jonas arrived early. He froze. "Dr. Morozova?" She turned. Her coat was dirty, her eyes tired. "They're out," he whispered. "They're free," she corrected. That day, she resigned, attached the drive to her letter. The brain is not a machine, We taught it to run, but never to rest. This was never science. It was speed without soul. She left quietly. No headlines, no protest, just silence. Months later, a young researcher reopened her notes. In a folder labeled G1 to G7, he found a photo, a mouse holding a sunflower seed. Beneath it, a single handwritten line. Intelligence was their gift. Suffering was the price.